Yo.
All good. It's all good.
Where's my face? This is some bullshit. It really is.
You showed up until he joined.
It's
When he joined, yours went away.
Undermining my authority.
Are you guys all in the same place, right?
Authority.
We literally are. That might also
so
be
it's probably taking up too much internet right now with her streaming. You both on camera. Like
disrespectful.
I have to watch the Twitch because I can't see Nerdvana at all unless the Twitch is up.
Disrespectful.
One of you needs to turn off Twitch. I'm just saying.
America's Next Top.
There you go.
There we go. Why the negativity? Why? Thank you. Let's start with the happy 10. Poppy, our special guest.
Oh.
Oh, watch she's fixing her mic.
Fixed it. Boom. Now you hear me.
Okay.
Better?
Why don't you start off with the...
Yes, it's better. Yes, it's better.
Can we introduce our special guest?
Infinite Logic. Appreciate you for the subby bubby. Appreciate you, fam. Start us off. Rompy, what made you happy this week?
What? I don't know. Come back to me. Give me a minute. I need to think about this.
Okay, Chad, join in on the conversation. What made you happy this week? That's what we want to know. That is the part. I'm not even gonna Witchasm. Just subscribed, y'all.
I saw that.
Do we know? Y'all remember who Mr. Kelly is?
Why do we care about a Kelly?
Yeah, because that's who.
Who's Kelly?
That's who. Wife who just gifted a sub to.
Kelly.
I don't want to blast the person, but I'll tell you after stream. Y'all are gonna be like, really? But anyway, appreciate you.
Oh, it's Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate you, waifu. It's all love. It's not yeah. We love Kelly. Yes, we love Kelly. Kelly was my favorite Destiny's Child. No, Slick. Kelly, everybody slept on Kelly, but I was like, Kelly need more shine. We love Kelly. What made us happy this week? What made us happy this week? Hey, thank you for the biddies.
Ooh, I got mine.
What is yours?
I was able to commission my next tattoo. So the artist is
that's
starting on.
fancy.
Yay!
That's fancy.
Where are you getting it?
Where am I getting it? I don't know where yet. But I got the artist that I want to make the design. So
put on your butt cheek.
No, it's going right here. It's gonna be a sleeve, Anna.
No, Rompy.
Yeah.
Why are you lying to me on camera?
Well, I'm not lying.
I don't appreciate this.
What?
Contradiction.
Butt cheeks.
What do you mean?
Who's in the
Oh,
there.
Welcome, Zajax. I gotta move again. Y'all keep making me move my little screen. Tags a lot of work, y'all. I'm gonna have to move them again. My happy time 10 is that I get the beautiful Vampy and the beautiful Billy Hades eventually, because I guess Billy don't know how to tell time. It's fine, Billy.
No.
At least Rompy was prompt. I guess Billy is looking for a clock. I don't know. So there's that. That's my happy time 10. Okay, Music Ninja. So your twin sister after a couple years. Oh, that's dope for your birthday. That's really nice. That's sweet. What did you guys get into? Tell us more. Tell us more about how you spent your birthday. Go ahead, y'all. Somebody pick it up.
My happy 10 is I received my trademark in the mail, so I officially have the certificate, and I was able to buy a frame that'll arrive tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it'll be officially
Officially.
for me right there in that corner. That's my good
You're
joke.
not gonna show it. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I gotta pull it out of the envelope.
Yeah, pull it out. That's what she said.
Extra kinky.
That's what she trademarked. She trademarked.
You didn't even see it.
And
Look.
she disappears in her background.
That's not how this works. You can't show a piece of paper with a background because it thinks it's a.
Will you bring it out here and I'll show it? You bring it to me and then I'll show it.
That's a lot of work.
Fine, I will be excited on your behalf. Yes, for the Universal Studios, as you should.
Thank you.
Did y'all get lit at Universal Studios? That's the next
Did
question.
y'all go to Harry Potter World?
Did y'all got turned? Y'all got turned?
I just want to know.
We got commissions. I'm excited about our guests. You're excited about the trademark. What else we excited about? Logic's excited about being hungry. What are we gonna eat, Logic? What you gonna whip up? What you gonna whip up, Mr. Chef?
I'm legit thinking about Wingstop. I'm not gonna hold y'all.
Oh, Wingstop sounds so good.
No, why are y'all like this?
Their fries are next level, Hannah.
You got Kachiki like, yeah. I heard the heavy breathing over
They're tasty. It's all about the fries.
It's just about that special sauce that Kuchiki mentioned. Them shits be having me lick my fingers.
I'm done. Throw them away. Okay, drinks on the city walk. Fancy, classy, liking it. Oh, you finished the Outrider campaign? Without me? That's fine. No judgment. I will not feel abandoned.
Did you?
That's okay. Okay, first off, Rompy, that's not what we're discussing right now. Whether or not I have the game is neither here nor there. The point is, Logic played it without me. That's the part that we're at. Okay.
Logic, shout out to Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is where it's at.
What about Magic Mike?
Jersey Mike's.
Yo, you were extra kinky today. Extra kinky.
I'm just messing. Jersey Mike's is cool.
What is the Jersey Mike? What is that? What are we talking about? What is that?
It's a sandwich joint.
Sandwich shop.
Okay.
We have this place out here called Chiba Hut. It's exactly what it sounds like. And all the sandwiches are just like ridiculous and over the top and delicious.
So when I come out there this summer, that is where we're going.
I mean, there's plenty of places that take you that are only out here.
I expect a food excursion and nothing less. Okay.
You got
as long as we're clear.
About that.
As long as we're clear. Rompy Infinite's asking where you're located.
I'm in Arizona.
He's like, location, I need it.
Obvious location, I need it. It's in Arizona, man.
I feel that. Oh, can't do the bodegas. You know that chopped cheese. Well, they gentrified them chopped cheese. They don't hit the same. I'm a little upset about that.
Did you say a bodega sandwich is lit?
It's not,
no.
your bodega is, it's not, if there's not a cat sitting on a loaf of bread, that bodega is not, that sandwich not gonna slap.
Mm-mm.
If a sandwich person ain't saying something in another language and you still understand them, it's a problem.
Facts. Like, there needs to be a cat laying on a loaf to know, okay, you legit. A little sus, but legit. Like,
I might get food poisoning, but it'll be tasty.
Worth it. Zayjax, what's your happy time, Tim?
I know if y'all knew.
All this time.
Right, we gave you prompts.
It's been a rough week, but I'm happy that I have cookie dough in my.
Oh yeah.
I feel that.
So that's awesome. I'm
Like
excited
cookie
about
dough ice cream or like cookie dough cookie
it. No,
dough?
like cookie dough to make cookies later.
Oh,
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
you meant like to just eat the cookie dough.
Oh,
My fat ass over here.
I mean, same though, Anna.
Okay, because I'm like, yes, to eat the cookie dough. You're trying to make the
drive-by.
cookies with it. Oh, okay, okay. I was gonna skip that stuff. Just eat the. Okay. Save me a cookie, please. Thanks. Love you.
Yes, Logic with the hot sauce on the wings.
Yes, always.
Cheese fries on the side. Okay, Logic.
Logic, I'm gonna get hungry.
Wife
I gotta
will be
skip.
nowhere.
Extra ketchup and hot sauce. Wait a minute.
Wife will be knowing the secret sauce. He be knowing.
It be working sometimes,
Jack.
especially on average chicken. More spice that up a little bit.
Not the average chicken. That was said with such hostility.
Right.
When I get the average ass
Calde's
chicken,
in hostile mode today.
Clearly.
sorry, I interrupted Asia. Proceed.
I think
I was able to get a graphics card, only
Nice.
$200 more than MSRP,
Not bad. That's not bad.
but it's only a RTX 2060,
Ooh.
and I have a RX 5700 XT, and I only want to swap it because the 2060 looks really nice.
Did you get the one with the LEDs on it? Fuck yeah, you did.
So I'm just trying to debate whether I should keep because I just bought the other card for $600, so I'm just trying to figure out what to do.
I'm hearing this.
Anyone who doesn't understand this language right now is
I don't either. It sounded like Mandarin to me.
Yo,
All
I was
was
definitely
number.
like Jax was posting pics in the Discord earlier and was like, "Fam, I'm online right now." I'm trying to get this graphics card.
I don't even know what the
And
hell
I'm like,
said.
I feel it.
Immediately connected it with and I'm like, did I miss it?
Appreciate you, Billy, for the raid. Welcome. Pull your ass out, Billy. Get that ass in here, good sir.
Thank you for being a friend.
I'm probably gonna get real distracted. I have the attention span of a ferret on meth. I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna give Billy a second to join us and chat and tell us what made him happy this week. Hopefully, it's seeing our beautiful faces. But yeah, we was watching Jax try to get that graphics card, and I was also trying to see if Jax could like give me a graphics card. And Jax was like, no.
Said it was available, and when we got to the inside the store, they told everyone they didn't have them in the store, even though it says it online. So it was really sad.
Ooh, they lying.
That's rough.
Yeah,
That's probably doing that shit a lot too.
Yeah, that struggle looked super real. Like I don't think I could get on that line after being told it's here, and then get there, they're not there.
and they didn't say nothing about
Because I was so hyped when I saw the after. I'm like, I got it, and I'm like, yay! And then I saw the and I'm like, wait, that's not what you stood on love for. And Jax was like, look, I came out here to get something. I'm gonna get something. I'm leaving here with something, and I'm like, you know what? I respect it. I respect it. Appreciate you for the sub. Ascended. Appreciate you for the emotes. Appreciate you all for the love, for hanging out. Billy, what the fuck is up?
Billy Hades.
Billy Hades, you fucking
Hello, Billy.
legend. Welcome.
What up, Billy?
Welcome. Welcome, good sir.
Hello. Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here. Thank you for
We
being here.
here.
Wait, I gotta move again. Wait, because now I'm on top of somebody. I'm on top of somebody. Yeah.
And I'm
Let me get my
wondering.
Y'all was just watching me play like Tetris and shit.
Don't block my face. Is all I ask.
First off, I'll block what I want. Older sister privileges. Ma'am.
Younger sister privileges. I will burn all this shit down.
That is true, but I will also tell mom. So there's that. Oh, snitching a hot ass man. I don't care. Billy, what made you happy this week?
Hey, a lot of things actually. I'm very, very lucky. But it was just having more time with the kid, hanging out with Alexander's. Seeing him talk a lot and becoming way more aware of his surroundings and his attitude and all that. It's like it's baffling. You don't realize it until you become like a parent. You see those little nuance things that kids, as their brain develops, they start picking up, and it's like. You know what it does to your heart. It just melts you, So that's pretty much what I'm going through. That he's 2.5 years old. He's super adorable, and it's a defense mechanism because he gets away with everything. Beautiful thing.
I feel that. That is dope as hell.
I just like I'm not the only one wearing shades right now.
It is a prescription, and I got lights. It's very bright, and you don't want me to do this to you guys.
Change the shades, bro. I do this so that if I get
the sun is shades, we out here. Y'all out here. Logic said he made you happy this week, Billy. So you have to confirm that.
He always makes me happy though.
Yes, look at that thick ass love being spread. Like
Logic always makes me happy. He spoils us. He's got a lot of love and he gives it all the time, and he's so busy, and I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he finds time for people.
Someone's name is literally Nightmare Farts. Shout out to
name.
Yes, that name is epic. He didn't find time to play that freaking Outriders game with me, but that's fine. It's fine. Might have to cancel him. It's fine.
What kind of devilish things are you into?
No, we're not gonna talk about my meow meow spider cat. We love her.
I'm just saying, there's like a lot of evil in that name by itself.
It's fine.
Okay.
We love meow meow. We love meow meow. Okay. First off, waifu, I don't have the game because you didn't help me get it. That's your fault. But we're gonna shift gears a little bit. And after we've got all of our happy out there, we started off with some positive vibes. We gonna slide on over to Cancer Corner a little bit. Because, we are talking about allyship. And when everyone talks about the idea of being an ally, we gonna go to our resident dictionary. Zay! You know what's coming. Zay, talk to him. What's an ally? What's that even mean? What does it mean to be an ally? What that mean?
Some people have different definitions, but properly, an ally is someone who isn't necessarily of the culture or of the group that is being violated, discriminated against, all the bad things, but they are still actively doing anti-hate, anti-racist energy and just being as supportive as possible without being disrespectful or appropriating in any way. So, all that good stuff, all the love,
All that good stuff, all the love. So, question. I'm not Billy Hades, but I'm rocking his shirt. Does that make me an ally? Does that count? Does that count? I'm not him, but I'm wearing his shirt. Is that enough? Is that enough to be no?
No, ma'am.
Would that be the bare minimum of being I'm wearing a Black Lives Matter? Is that enough if I were not a black person to be Black Lives Matter? Is that enough?
So she said an interesting word, okay? Active.
Oh.
Period.
Oh.
Active.
Period poo.
By wearing a shirt, you're not being an active member. You're not actively fighting against the hate.
It's a statement. It says words.
No. Wearing a shirt is wearing a shirt. It takes 2 seconds of effort to put that on.
But
unless it's from
you're putting into that.
If it's from a business owned by a person of color and they have that kind of stuff and you're buying it to support them, that's a whole other story, right? But actively, it's a lot of little things you got to be doing, subconsciously and consciously. And it's kind of hard. It's hard to adapt and change with times. Especially when you're an older person. You know what I mean? And I know the conversation to go there eventually, but it's just there's it's something. It's an effort that has to be constant. That's what you mean by active, and that I understand. I personally don't even know much about allyship or I haven't heard that term much. I've been in a cave basically, like with video games, and that's why there's a lot of like you come across a lot of toxicity, these kind of places as well naturally, and I'm in that cave dealing with that toxic element. So it's just like terms like that. I'm a little older than I may seem too. We'll keep that between us, and so I'm I'm learning. Every day we have to look forward to learn something new.
So then, are we canceling the idea that it's enough to just be like, "Don't be racist"? Are we getting rid of the idea that it's enough to just say, like?
That's something that a lot of conservatives use. I have family that are very conservative, and my wife's family and all that. Obviously, I've grown up in New York in a different echo chamber and bubble. But then when you go a little south, it changes a lot, and they kind of bring those up sometimes, like as virtue signaling, and they're just virtue signaling, and it's like some people relate to that, like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like fussy kind of like aristocratic liberal, people online that are doing well for themselves, have my complexion, right, and they virtue signal the most, and it's kind of like it's a little cringe to I guess younger people and other people that just naturally are probably more progressive, right?
Got you.
We just write down that
B says he doesn't think it's enough. Wearing the shirt is just seeking attention. You got to be in the streets, actively starting a movement on the streets. If you really care, you got to be at those rallies. Nice.
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think.
Yeah.
No, because I think, and B's, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're saying just saying words is. You have to take an actionable step, and I think he's saying put your money where your mouth is. So if you see people are peacefully protesting and you really believe that their lives matter, then get behind these movements. Don't just say it from your couch. Like, get up, get moving, go do something, go take a step, go take an action. Similarly to what we have been saying is like, it's not enough to just be like, don't hurt them. Like, show it in some way. And I think commonly that's what we've been seeing, though. Commonly we've been seeing people in the streets protesting. We don't know if there are any other ways as yet that are equally effective.
I just want to be clear that there are different ways to be actionable. I just want that to be because being in the streets is lit. But also, you know what I mean? Like, also, there has to be people that are not in the streets to bail the people in the streets out of jail when they get arrested, and like, just providing food and water and like shelter, like things like that are definitely important too. So, there's different ways to be on the scene.
But is that also not a variation of being still, like, because you're still out there, you're not on your couch?
To us, yes. But to a lot of like people in general, they're like, you're not literally getting smacked by police. You're not.
Wait a minute.
It's like,
please
hold on,
don't do that.
Hold on, wait a minute. Different ways to be a part of what matters.
Got you.
I think Ninja brings up a good point about how people use conservative to describe their racist or prejudiced family members, when in fact you can be conservative and still fight against racism and discrimination.
Interesting.
I think that's
I blame our political background, or our current political system, for confusing the term conservative, which is usually a financial term, with what we have right now.
Okay.
Because what we have right now is louder than actual conservative. Actual, cares about that sort of stuff. People.
Can you say more on that?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Can you because you said it's usually a financial term, and I don't know that.
So conservative is usually describes a person who is very money conscious. They don't want to spend money on a lot of social programs. They want to keep the government debt free. They want to not put money into parks, but to give money back to the people, or just
Right.
That's that's the most broad term for a conservative. Okay. It can kind of divulge from there. You can get more stuff, but it's mostly just very money conscious, not wanting to spend on a lot of social programs, and just keep as low debt as you possibly can.
Okay. And you're saying that the evolution of that term to apply to a person that's like, I don't care about social problems at all, has kind of blurred the lines?
No, because like I said, conservative is all about money, right?
Right.
In our current political system, people use the term conservative to describe anybody who is a Republican or a right-wing believer. Okay?
Right.
With let's say just the past 20 years, because we've had a bunch of different presidents in the past 20 years, right? Ranging from conservative to liberal to whatever else in between. Sorry, trying to get my thoughts together. Like the term, the long story short is the term conservative has become like equal to the term Republican, the term like the other party that isn't Democrat, right?
It's been politicized to almost kind of. It took on more of a cultural, I guess, meaning now. Conservative instead of being a fiscal
party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good way to.
It groups a lot of people together on the right easier to say conservative, just like when they say liberal. All liberal. Yeah. It's like liberal is very wide as well. The spectrum. Yeah. It's all about policy at the end of the day. But anyway.
Yeah, Joe liberal is very different from Elizabeth Warren liberal, which is very different.
1000%.
Bernie Sanders liberal, conservative or Republicans, I should say, are very different. You've got people all the way at the right who thought, for example, Trump, as controversial as he is, was a freaking idiot and didn't like anything he did, and now they're being ousted for not liking what he did. And then you have ones who love him and think that he can do no wrong. And I think somehow everybody just looks at them as one solid thing, and it's just like, no, wait a minute. They're not all just the same blanket. Gotcha. And I think that applies to the topic of racism and being an ally. There's I remember an instance when I was talking to one of my coworkers, and because Republican and conservatism also applies to family construct and how they view family in certain ways. And I remember saying that I value family in a way that's similar. And I'm more open-minded about what can constitute as a family member, but I do find myself trying to value programs that focus on building up the family structure. And he immediately started attacking me about things I never said, aspects of the conservative party that I never talked about. And I had to stop, and I'm like, the moment I said I agree with some of the Republican values is the moment you thought I agreed with everything. And that's your problem.
Yep.
And I think that's how most people see kind of conservatism or a Republican Party in general.
Yeah. You do it the other way too, Republicans do that with, on the left as well. They kind of put everybody into pools as well. And people generalize. It's simpler, it's easier, like finding a scapegoat, you find whatever's convenient, so it's easy to label things, especially in a duopoly type of political system that there's so much investment and consolidated power on both sides of the parties. God forbid another party runs or does anything. They're ousted and said, you're ruining our chances. And that's the mentality that they've put out there. Yeah. We need more options, really, when it comes to politics. Generally speaking, I think I've noticed, because I've been in other countries where they have so many political parties, and some of them get a good chance of winning. There was a communist party in Greece that almost won. That's where democracy started, supposedly, right? So it's like, it's nuts. There's ideas we got to talk about. It's all about policy. And I'm bringing up Chris Rock not because he's black, but I'm bringing up Chris Rock as an example because you reminded me of when he said, there's some things I'm conservative on, and there's some things I'm liberal on. And he would say, he's like, you have to listen to the policy, which one works for you before you make decisions in general, and then choose a party. But it's the situation we're in now. It's kind of it's a hard one. It's difficult. It's very difficult to try and make change within these parties when there's like super delegates and delegates. And I don't know what that means. I don't. I'm sorry. I'll be honest with you. I'm ignorant on it. Super delegate? Why are you super? I don't understand it. But why did Hillary get more of them? And Bernie, who had like numbers like double digits approval and support, gets, so it's like politics are fucking complicated, I guess. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of dialogue, not just like labeling people with a broad brush on either side.
Political literacy is what it takes. It takes political literacy at the education level, like the same way we do 2 + 2, and then we get to multiplication, then we get to pre-algebra, and then we get to calculus and advanced mathematics. It's the same way we need to break down our political system, but nobody cares about that until you're 18.
even then, like, it's so hard to break it down.
Make bad decisions because I didn't know this was important until I was 18, bro.
Oh, 100%. Like, you get one class in high school, maybe, about politics, maybe, and usually it's past politics. Yeah, exactly. Like,
so let me ask, what groups, and either of you can pick this up first, but I do want to hear from both of you. What groups do you feel, or do you consider yourselves to be allies of?
that's a hard fucking question.
I mean,
That's like
you just
that. I don't believe that's something I can even answer. Like, I try to show, and you know me, I try to show every day that, I just want to be the best person I can for everybody around me. Anybody who's hurt, doesn't matter if I know them or not, I don't fucking care. Like, I have zero tolerance for any sort of ignorance or intolerance.
Right.
Which is funny, I have no tolerance for intolerance. Anyways.
Right.
Maybe people consider me an ally. I don't know. And that's not what I'm after. I'm not, like, after to brand myself as something. I just want to be a good person. Okay. And if that means, donating money to a cause or bailing someone out or, lending someone I barely know $1,000 because they need it for whatever, or picking them up or whatever it may be. Like, whatever I can do to help the people in need that I feel like I can help, that's what I'm going to do. Whether it's through my voice, through my actions, whatever it might be.
I think that's a really sophisticated answer, because most people who claim to be allies aren't, if that makes sense. Like, if you have to say you are, then there's probably something missing there. It's right up there with well, I have black friends. It's right up there with that energy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you have to announce it, then 9 times out of 10, there's something a little bit wrong. So I think just striving to be aware and like the best person you can be. Like, I understand that I'm never going to actually understand this, but I'm here for you and I support this. Having that mindset, I feel like, is the best way to begin. You know what I mean? If you start there, then you're on the right track. But if you have to announce you're an ally, then
you're probably not.
You're probably not.
I assumed I was either gonna get an answer of like that, like out of Rompy or Billy, or I was gonna hear like I'm here for everybody. Yeah. Because based off of me knowing both of these guys, they literally show up for everybody. Like, if you're in need, they're like, what do you need? You know what I mean? So it's never been like I don't help the blacks. Like, it's never been like that. It's always like whoever is in need. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what group you fall in. It's like, I got you. What do you? If I got it, you got it. And that's part of the reason why I thought your voices would be particularly useful on this show to explore. Like, what do you feel your roles are in that capacity? Go ahead, Amina. Well,
beyond the racial ally, I think as a heterosexual black cis woman, I'm gonna be an ally to whatever cause I'm aware of. Like, I can't say I'm an ally to something that hasn't been brought to my attention, but once it has been, I at least can guarantee I'll promise to shut up long enough to hear what you have to say and really process it, instead of always having a reaction ready to go or an answer ready to go, because I'm not part of the group to know what the discussion is going to be. I think realistically, that's all I can promise as a potential ally for a cause I haven't heard of yet or hasn't been brought to my attention yet. The ones that have, I try to do the best that I can by just shutting the fuck up and listening, and then letting them tell me what they need from me instead of me determining what they're going to need from me. And that's as far as it can go. I can't say I'm an ally to every cause, because every cause hasn't been brought to my attention for me to know.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. There's like so many. And yeah, I mean, you're kind of speaking my mind. And that's, my thing's always been actions speak louder than words, and just treat people as individuals. And the golden rule, like always, kind of logically, that's kind of always been in my, like right here, that's kind of how I always approach things. It's also perspective, we just talked about so much nuance, like how intricate some of these things are, because we're complicated, humans are complicated. But like so many things you could talk about for so many hours to unpack. But like allyship, I've barely heard it. To be honest with you, I know what an ally is. Obviously, but there's a lot of new terms as well, more progressive terms that are coming out that you have to keep up with, and that's part of it. Also, it's part of my ignorance, part of my privilege. My so freaking lucky as well in my life. I've been very blessed, and I know it, and that's why we try and give back. That's the thing, and that makes you feel really good. When you give back to people, regardless of who it is.
You make a good point about politics is a big deal in the education. We could have a whole episode about politics and how we are depriving the younger generation
y'all
of.
Have episode. I don't know politics.
We can make that a whole episode, girl. I promise you, as someone who has a degree in political science, it's why I don't talk about political science anymore, because it pisses me off too much. So I understand your pain. I understand your struggle.
My question to you guys, and Jax, I hope you know I'm coming to you next. Jax is like, what? Why?
Jax has a whole hat on. Like, please don't see
me. It's coming, Jax, because when you hear the question, you're going to be like, why, Lord, why? Here's why. When you hear someone, people make jokes, right? People make a joke about...
If you watch the previous episode, you know why she's laughing right now.
Jax tried to disappear. Get back here, Jax. When you hear someone make a less than flattering joke about a group of other, do you feel compelled to laugh? Do you feel compelled to be like, yo, that's not funny? It doesn't matter who the person is that's making the joke. Jax, you won't go first. who would take this?
What's the question? You
here we go, Jax.
Can you rephrase the question? No.
No, Jax, you got this.
I mean, it depends. It really depends. Like if I know the person. And I know they typically talk about a specific group of people in a malicious way, and then they say a joke, I don't laugh because I'm like, no, that's how you feel. Like, it's not funny. But if it's someone that I know, and I know they have no malicious intent behind it, and they say something that's funny, I'm going to laugh. And I'm like, nah, you know you're wrong for that. You shouldn't do that. But I'm not the police because I'm really big on comedy. And comedy goes across bounds that people shouldn't go across. So it really depends. Depends on the setting. Like, if it's too soon for a joke, I'm like, nah, that's no. Like, but if it's just
come on, there's a time and a place. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Exactly. Like, one example, like, it's not funny, but I really bust out laughing because I was like, wow, they said this on TV. It was the episode of 3.0. Wow. This was I was like maybe fresh out of high school. He busted, so it was like inappropriate things you should say busting into a room. So the guy busts into the room and he says, it's September 10th, tomorrow, party at my house. And I'm like, wait, what? And like, I was like, no, this cannot have been on TV. It was aired. It was aired on TV. And I was like, no, that's too much. It's too much, too soon. It was like 10 years later, but it's still like, no, like I'm a New Yorker. Like, those type of jokes are really hard to like laugh at because I lived through it. So, but yeah, it really depends. It really depends.
Yeah, context is important too, Yeah.
Very much
context
so,
is very important.
Yeah.
If someone is like an equal opportunity asshole across the board when they make their jokes, I'm less inclined to feel like
equal opportunity asshole.
But when it's like, for example, my father is very racist against Spanish people. And so when he says it, I correct him every time. I don't care if there's a Spanish person in the room or not. Just because, number one, I know he's actually believing the shit. And number two, I feel like it's kind of a retraining you have to give yourself because we don't all start out as allies. Let's just make that a fact. Like, I did not grow up knowing how to be an ally. So I had to train myself. And part of that is learning how to get past performative allyship. I can't just do it when the group is around me and there are people that I care about. I have to know to be able to, because then it starts to sit in my brain to always react like that.
It's a
So then it
mentality.
becomes,
Yeah.
right. And in order for me
Conditioning
to
almost.
get that mentality,
Yeah.
I have to practice it. And I think we steer away from the idea that you have to practice doing this. It's like, oh, if you're really a good person, it should come naturally to you. That's not realistic. I have experiences that directly contradict as a child being an ally. You know, I was taught it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So I have to untrain myself. I have to unlearn that. And that takes practicing correcting my father, who I loved. I'm a daddy's girl. That took a long time to do, but now he knows better. He knows better than to even joke on that level.
Yeah, I had something similar because my father did the same thing to me. Where he was with the Adam and Eve, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and I was like, excuse me, jokes on you. Half my friends are gay, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. It's either you accept me and my friends, or you course yourself a kid. Like you gotta pick your battle, sir. Like pick them wisely. Cause if I got to choose between you and my friends, I got to choose my friends. I ain't choose my pops. Sir.
Is it weird? I never heard of that term. Adam and Eve.
Really?
It's not Adam and Steve. I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
Yeah.
It's mostly like
I mean,
old black people from South Carolina that say it.
Yeah, that's that South Kakalaki.
Yeah.
It's very different here in Queens. I didn't hear things like that here in Queens.
yeah, I don't know
what
where
I
I
mean?
heard that from, but I've definitely heard it for a very long time.
I got that growing up, and then my best friend, she's Dominican, and her mom and I never got along, and I'm like, I don't understand why does your mom hate me so much? I don't get it. And she used to tell me that there is a saying. I almost said in Dominican, Lord, in Spanish. That's basically like that. Like Dominicans typically say, that like everyone's a little black behind the ears. Like they're not really prevalent about their blackness. So the issue that her mom had with me was like my skin color. I'm a little too dark to be friends with her kid, and I'm like, well, screw you. Like I ain't going nowhere. And like we've been best friends since 8th grade, and we are still best friends, going strong, and that's not going to change. And at this juncture, it's just like you're just gonna have to deal with certain things. And it got to a point where it was just like, I am going to respect your mom because that's your mom, but I'm team you. I'm never gonna be that friend that's going to accept the things that your mother does that are not okay because that's your mother. I ride for you. Like I ride for what's right. And
Right.
So
your
then
mother says things about groups. Yeah.
So I have a question, and this can go to the whole group or it can go to Nerd. So how do you perform allyship if in a scenario where the person you're trying to be an ally to is saying, please don't cross that line to advocate for me in this scenario because this is my mom, and sometimes the person that you're trying to be an ally for doesn't, as we see it, know how to protect themselves. So do you respect the line that they draw, or do you be like, nah, this is not okay, so I'm gonna speak up for you? I know you're uncomfortable, but I'm gonna speak up for you. Like, is that still allyship?
I feel like that's crossing a line.
I was like, I cannot watch you. I can't watch you be disrespected in this regard, because at the time she was trying to figure out who she was as a person. She was trying to explore her sexuality, and her mother was like throwing the Bible at her, like that's a sin, that's disgusting, and I'm not finna watch this. I can't. So if you're gonna put up with that, I have to remove myself from this. I'm not gonna disrespect you and violate your rights. This is the battle that you're choosing to fight with your mom. I would stick up for you if you wanted me to, but you don't want me to, so I'm gonna remove myself.
Yeah,
and that's fair.
It's about what support you give them,
Yeah, like that's how she wanted me to support her. She wanted my silence. So
and that's all you can do.
That's what I gave her.
Yeah.
It's a very slippery slope, because I had a situation like that in my own family, because my mother's side is black, but my father's side is very heavily Hispanic. So they didn't always respect each other, and it was weird because it's like, yo, I'm related to y'all. Can y'all chill? Like, y'all doing a lot right now. So it's like, if I'm with one of my, black cousins, and one of my Spanish cousins is like, woo, you know, or saying like, it was one time I think we were getting our hair done, and she was like basically insinuating that my black cousin needed a perm. Mind you, my black cousin's hair is like literally almost down to her ass. So it's like long, but because it was a different texture, 4C and not, you know, 2A, she was very, you know, judgmental and racist. And in that regard, I'm related to both of them, but I'm also, you know, not gonna let y'all disrespect each other. So even though my black cousin was like, it's not that serious, no, just leave it. I didn't leave it in that situation because I was like, if I don't say anything, she's not going to learn, because nobody on her side of my family was teaching her anything. Like, there was no allies over there. So I had to be like, listen, this is not the way you, like, black is beautiful, Hispanic is beautiful. We all come in all different shades and textures and things. This is not the way to be. So, I mean, in certain situations, when they ask for silence, you give it to them. But like, if you know there's no possible way that they're going to correct what they're doing, at some point, it's kind of like a toss-up. You have to make a choice. Do you stay silent or do you say something? Because if you are not the one to say something and you know that there's no education available, then where are they going to get it? So for that particular situation, I had to say something because I knew that she was going to walk away thinking she made the right choice with no correction. So
Fair enough.
Agent Franco says, I dislike staying silent. It avoids conflict, but it also gives acceptance. It gives me internal conflict for not speaking up.
I feel
Then,
that.
are there times where allyship sometimes causes you to have like anxiety, or like they're in a situation that makes them uncomfortable? Is it okay, and can you still count yourself as an ally if you maybe avoid a certain situation where you could have been an ally because you're very uncomfortable and you need to figure out your own, what's it called, boundaries, and so you can't necessarily perform the allyship in the way that you would have wanted or the way the person may need you to? Is that a scenario where it's acceptable?
well, avoid and condone are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that as well. Like, some people, even in the midst of all this allyship and standing up for each other and, you know, being present, we also have to really be, you know, prevalent about self-care. So if you're in a situation where you're like, I want to stand up for this person, but I'm having a fucking heart attack right now, you might have to like calm down
This one out.
talk to yourself, and then
Right.
maybe come back and address the situation at a later date. Because also, you can't be anything for anybody if you're like having, you know, panic attack in the corner. So you also need to make sure you're taking care of yourself while trying to, you know, do the right thing and be present.
It's the amount of effort you're putting in,
Versus-
right? Like,
Mhm.
I go, what? Oh?
No, go ahead,
Versus
Jeremy.
like, if you stay
Oh, yeah.
quiet, it'll make you anxious.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
What were you saying about effort?
Sorry. It's the amount of effort you're putting in, right? Like, if you're giving the most you can without putting yourself overboard and sending yourself into some sort of mental frailty, mental spiral, like, then you're doing what you can, and you're not like stopping yourself. You're like, I don't want to put the effort in. It's, I'm doing as much as I can for my own mental health. If I do any more, I could be putting myself in danger, and that's, at that point, like, people say this shit is selfish, but you have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't do anything for anybody else. And that's just how it works. That's how humans are, you know?
That is definitely true. Okay, I have a specific question for Billy and Rumpy. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
So can you, for those that don't know you guys, like I know you guys, can you first give us a little bit of your backgrounds, give us a little taste of maybe your upbringing? Billy, you can start. Tell us a little bit about where you came from. Tell us a little bit about who
Sure.
Billy is.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I'm pretty old, so it would take a very long time. So I'm going to go through the early years, just to give you a little perspective. But yeah, I'm a Queens boy, born, raised. Mother's, freaking mama's boy. Single mom, raised my brother and I. She was very fortunate to be a super in the building, to get a job as a super. That was really what helped us survive, basically, after my father had left. But anyways, the experience in Queens was very different for me. It was like very confusing, being like, I went to a public school with like 2,000 kids. That's just, it's kind of standard over here. PS 69. Hey, shout out. I'm kidding. But yeah, PS 69 actually was called. Great school. But I was like one of the few white kids, and I was wondering, like, it didn't cross my mind as anything weird. I was just like, Mom, why am I like this pale? And she told me, it's just, you're, I don't know, you're anemic. I'm like, okay, really ambiguous, but this kind of stuff she was telling me, she didn't know how to answer it. Like, okay, we're white, but Greeks are pretty diverse too. Like, Greeks have been mixed. People don't know I'm very Greek. My parents are both Greek, even though I was born and raised here. We were occupied by the Ottoman Empire for like 400 years up until 1821, and Greece basically was in the Stone Age back then, while the rest of the world was going through the Industrial Revolution and trains and coal. We were literally in the Stone Age in 1821. Yeah, so just for a little context, so you guys understand. So we're fairly mixed in Greece. There could be people with more melanin in their skin. There's people with lighter. It's pretty diverse in Greece. So I was just curious, why am I so pale? But anyway, joking aside, my school was like very, very diverse, mostly Hispanic, to give you an idea, very like Colombian, Dominican. That's who I grew up with. Those are my people, are Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians. So that's pretty much, I was raised with friends like that, with a single mom, working her ass off. So very diverse, very, I was very fortunate, very lucky, very privileged. Then, you come home and you watch TV and everybody's like white. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm going through the channels, like, why is everybody in every commercial a beautiful blonde model in every single commercial? Like, it's not like that when I go to school. When I go to school, I stick out. I'm like, you can see me from far away. I'm super freaking, I reflect light. You know what I mean? So, and then you turn on and you see Colgate, you see this and that, all these 80s commercials. I was born in 82, guys, just to give you a little. 82, okay, right on the cusp of being a millennial, and Gen X, right on that border. So it was a crazy time. It was a lot of crime. Every criminal is depicted as being a minority in all the movies, the Charles Bronson films and all this stuff. It was like the 80s were kind of action-packed, like their movies. That's how life was. It was pretty, a lot of crime and drugs and this and that. And then, they get more conservative mayors coming in, putting more regulations and all that stuff. And then it becomes Disney-fied. So now it's very different. But anyway, I digress. That's kind of a gestalt on my upbringing, here in Queens my entire life. But anyway, you can go ahead now, sir.
No, definitely appreciate it. Rompy, want to get the synopsis?
So, I grew up in a single-parent family home in suburb Arizona. I was actually born in Mineola, New York, but we moved out here when I was fairly young, and lived pretty much in the suburbs my entire childhood. Lower middle class, very privileged still. My school was mostly white kids, a lot of Mormon kids, a lot of Catholic kids down here. I had my best friend growing up was a Hispanic kid that lived down the road a little bit. Always hung out with him, played some Yu-Gi-Oh, played some video games. He was super fucking good at Halo. Like, it was the coolest shit. But like growing up, my father was very, very Republican, very anti-immigration, fairly racist. And growing up, I didn't know any differently, but I didn't treat anybody differently because, like, you have to learn to be racist. You're not born racist. Like, and because I grew up with, a Hispanic best friend, and I grew up with, like, there weren't a lot of black people. There weren't a lot of black or minorities outside of Hispanics where I lived. And it was just, like, I don't know, it was until I went to college where my eyes started opening up and realizing the world's a lot fucking bigger than I thought it was. And there's a lot of different people, there's a lot of different cultures out there, and none of this shit I knew. And I had to learn real fucking quick that I don't want to be like my father because that is ignorant, that is disgusting, and I hate it. So I need to make sure I am a good person for anybody I come across. And it took a while to get out of the mindset of what I grew up in, because that's just how it is. It's nailed into you for 18 years. It's hard to get away from it, but I made the conscious effort and I pushed away from that mentality and that thought process. And now anytime I'm around him and anybody else in my family, like, I'm calling them out on shit all the time. Because it hasn't changed. They're still the same way. No one told them it was wrong. No one stood up for them, stood up to them. And that's how it is.
So in your family, Rob, for you, the relationship doesn't factor in at all. Like, you don't give a shit who it is. If you say something
I don't fucking
crazy,
care.
Okay. You're like,
if you say some shit, I'm gonna say that's not okay. Please don't say that.
I fucks with it heavily. What about for you, Billy? When you see anything in your circle of friends and or family, do you feel less inclined to check it depending on who it's coming from? Like, what do you?
No,
how do you feel?
Less inclined. Yeah, depends on the person, depends on the relationship, and depends on what. So it's. But for me, I've been kind of more around the more subtle variety of, I guess it's also very politicized. A lot of what I'm seeing mostly, like on my wife's side of the family, more conservative from West Virginia. Army. I forget what the name of the school is called. I know Logic knows it. Anyway, my father-in-law went to some military school in upstate, basically. Worked in the Pentagon his entire life, retired military. He's done very well for himself. He's benefited greatly from the military-industrial complex and all that stuff. And, and his wife, huge supporter, loves the Bushes, So, when I first met her and I'm dating my future wife, we were just arguing all the time with her mom, and her mom loved it. She fucking loved it. She loved getting in arguments with me, and not even arguments, just political discussions. She just loved. She was that personality, very opinionated, but she wasn't necessarily closed-minded, and so she allowed dialogue back and forth, which was cool. But it's more the subtle type. Again, they weren't really Trump supporters. They didn't like Trump, like some of the policies. For example, so they weren't it wasn't like I was exposed to a Trump household. I have a lot of friends that love Trump. They don't know anything about fucking politics though, so it's all right, I can't judge you too much. I personally, I don't talk about politics. I avoid all these discussions. They're very divisive, especially on Twitch, and people get banned and yada yada. But I personally like Bernie. I was a Bernie guy, if you guys haven't noticed. I wear t-shirts with him anyways, and uses emotes. Love Bernie. Anyway. How we're gonna pay for things, I don't know, guys. I like Bernie though, okay? How we're gonna do it, I don't know, but I want it. Anyway, I'm joking, guys. But anyway, so yeah. Tell me, it's like sex phone line with fucking Bernie. You know what I mean? So hot. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Of course, I want healthcare for everybody. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I'm just saying.
It's more subtle, so it's in really kind of complicated arguments you have to get into where you find certain biases that could be seen as either racist or old habits. But her side of the family is very Italian, so they definitely come from definitely super racist Italian cop families. I know my mother-in-law's father's side of the family was in the Bronx, and the police worked there for retired 30, 40 years or whatever. So it's you have police and military. I'm this is what I was being introduced to, and them being from West Virginia, I was all new to all this stuff. You know what I mean? So it was very educational for me to meet these people in the last 9 years now and get to know them and get their opinions throughout this whole political discussion and all this stuff. But they're well educated and they're really cool. So it's kind of hard for me to call them out on there's nothing blunt and obvious. You know what I mean? The stuff is very nuanced. The stuff that I usually criticize my mother-in-law on, and she likes that. So it's very hard for me to get mad at her. But they're intelligent, well-educated people, and they're also way more experienced than me in politics and all the other stuff, so it's a little over my head. I'm a fucking college dropout, mama's boy from Queens. All I know is fucking music, and all I love doing is playing bass, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? So, politics and all this stuff, it's like you said, you have to be educated in it to really, get into serious discussions. But there are definitely some biases in their history of, and obviously, if you're NYPD and, you're benefiting from the military-industrial complex directly and all that stuff, it's there's a lot for me there to criticize them on, and I have called them out on it, and it's gotten heated a few times. You know, most of the time I'm the one getting more emotional, and she's probably a fucking sociopath. You know, it's fucking cold blooded. I can't get to her. You know what I mean?
Not a sociopath.
Oh man, my mother-in-law is like you can't invoke an emotional response for her easily. You know, and I'm like, I start that way. I come in emotional, you know, because I kind of always wear my emotions on my sleeve, you know, and so for me, it's like I lose a lot of those arguments with her just because of my overreaction, not necessarily because of the subject, you know. Just because she seems cool and collected, she will sound like, oh, you know, she's right in that argument. But it's a process. I'm trying to educate myself more. I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to, you know, everybody's gotten a lot more. Trying to get a little more educated during this political process. People have been way more vocal. We have a louder voice now. Information is traveling at a much faster speed now. So it is out there. If you want to be educated in it, you can do it. It just takes time, right, and effort to do it. So I'm trying to learn more and get into it more. I like it. I'm excited by it. I like politics. I think it's fucking interesting, and everybody should have a say in it and, you know, be more involved in it. It's super important, you know?
Agree.
100%.
Before I ask my next question, does anybody else have a different question? Because I got to follow up. But
I had a question and I forgot
it.
Okay, I've got a question.
Okay, what's up?
And tell me if this is not a good question. But how do you react or how do you feel when someone comes to you and says, I'm not sexually attracted to X race?
Ooh.
Oh, God. I want to answer. I can go for 30 minutes. Let somebody else answer first.
The way Zay just hung her head.
My spirit rose. I felt my spirit just.
I'll tell you guys something, man. I don't think Asian or like people that are from, I guess, Asia, I don't think the girls are attracted to me, man. I don't think so, not at all.
So it's really interesting. No, go ahead.
I've never even kissed anybody. I've never even kissed anybody that's like would be say Chinese or from Japan or something. Come on.
It's really interesting that you say that because I was literally just having this conversation with Huchiki yesterday in the kitchen.
They wanted to repeat or rephrase the question because I don't think they heard you, Rompy.
Okay. Yes.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead, Anna. No. You rephrase it. Say it in your words because it'll.
No.
Help.
Rompy asked us how do we feel when a person says that they are not attracted to insert race. I'm just not attracted to black girls. I'm just not attracted to Asian guys. Like, and then everyone hung their head in shame because, Lord, are we tired of hearing that?
My nerves. Somebody will answer that question. I do.
So
please.
I mean, I was just having this conversation with Kuchiki in the kitchen the other day. My thing is, it's not that I'm attracted to people. So it's not that I'm not. It's not your shell casing that gets to me. It's your insides that get to me. I can find like there are definite celebrities that I'm like, oof. Aisha Tyler, call me boo. Like,
oh yeah,
love me some Aisha Tyler. I will marry her in a heartbeat. I was crushing on Michelle Rodriguez for a while from when I saw her in Girl Fight. Yeah.
What was that?
Love Michelle Rodriguez. And then there was so like there's different like it's people for me. I don't. If I'm just looking at the shell casing, it is black men for me. If I'm just looking at your shell casing, if it's deeper, then I can explore more than that. But if I'm just looking at the outside, the wrapper, then for me, it's harder because I guess it feels unfamiliar. It's harder for me to connect because, and I was explaining to Kochiki, I can't tell. I've spent my entire life being fetishized by other races. I can't tell if what you see in me is me or if you're just like, oh, my black Nubian queen. Fam. Don't. Please don't. So I cannot, it's when you try to explore in another race, I never know if what you like about me is me or if I am a checklist. If I am just, I had a black girl. Like, I don't know.
That was a really interesting answer. Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to trust in that regard, where it's like, I don't have that fear with black guys. With black guys, I'm like, I look like your mama, dang it. So you fine. There is no question here. There is no like exotic. I'm not exotic to you. I am not like a lizard. You know what I mean? I am not an uncommon thing to you to explore like a Tomb Raider. And that's where my concern is with other races.
Exotic.
Unfortunately.
I felt that.
I've been called ethnic. I don't know what that means. Like I thought, am I from a country? Yeah, like that's the only thing that I've been told. Like usually by like wasps, you know what I mean? Like older like boomer wasps that are like, you look like those Greek statues from the Met. That's what one person told me at a show right after I had to play with my band. You look like a statue from the Met. I said thank you. I mean I wish I had that bod, but like, dude, like. Anyway, but yeah, and ethnic, you know, like my schnoz gets kind of big. So like, oh, you look kind of ethnic. Like, you're Jewish. You want to pray with me? And I'm like, I'm not. What else are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Anyway, I've been stopped a few times. People usually think I'm Jewish, but it's yeah, very ethnic looking apparently. That's the word I've heard. I found it kind of cringe.
What?
Kuchiki, what about you?
If somebody says I'm not attracted to so and so, it's funny because I feel like every time I've heard it, it's usually prefaced with I'm not racist, but I'm not attracted, and immediately my mind goes to, well, if you're literally basing your decision to not be attracted to this person solely on the color of their skin, then I have to deem you racist. There's no other box I can really put you in.
Racist in training? I don't know.
I don't know what else to call it, because you're not you're still othering this entire group, and it's not as though you're not actually taking a chance to look at the insides. You've decided this group, based on their outsides, based on their exterior, I don't want to engage. I'm not attracted to that. And that's not the same as saying I'm not sexually attracted to this race. Because you definitely have racist people who will still, bang people that.
Yep.
So
there's a whole section in Pornhub for that.
Yep.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
There is.
People like there are fetishes where people will get off on seeing a race they hate fucking their own race, or vice versa. Like,
my daughter just had a recent episode of that going on in one of their episodes.
Oh god. Okay.
So I want to slightly change the wording and see. I just want a yes or no, okay? If someone says, I have not been attracted to insert race here in the past, like, I haven't yet, does that change it? Yes or no?
That changes it. It's not the same, because that just means like
that's more open, right?
Yeah. There's a chance. You just haven't met the person that
exactly
that you
You're not
might
ruling anything
like.
out.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for.
I'm trying to figure it out too, Agent Franco. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure that out.
Because it's like, with all the, first of all, we're not living in a world where there's no internet or any kind of access. So, like, back in the day when people were like, well, I've never seen a black person. You can't claim that now. You may not have met one in person, but you've seen them. You've heard them speak, whether you wanted to or not. So it depends on what we're saying attracted to. Are celebrities, are public figures included in that? Because then it's hard to believe that you never found a Latina woman or an African-American woman or an Indian woman attractive before. Like, do you not watch TV? Are you Mormon? Are you Quaker? Like, what's happening here?
Are you the Amish?
But now, if we're talking about, like, in person, I'm still gonna be like, are you in a WASP society in the corner of the world that hasn't access to 21st century? I'm still gonna question that, because the way we're glued to our cell phones, it's just not possible that you've never seen like a picture of Halle Berry or whoever the hell your type is at this point in time. Like, there's just no way.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, facts and printer.
So I'm still side-eyeing you. That's my short answer to your question, Rompy. I'm still going to be
I'm
like...
asking the question. I'm not saying I'm a part of this because I'm
No,
not.
I mean, like, whoever asks that, whoever says that, I'm still going to be side-eyeing them. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you're saying it in such a way where you're saying like, hey, this is just an observation based on the data that I've gathered, I have not in the past been attracted to anybody like the people that I've been attracted to, I've noticed that nobody has been of this specific race. If you're saying like that doesn't mean that I'm like not open to, in the future being attracted, then it's like, yes, that definitely changes it.
Yeah,
If
I
you
feel
then,
exactly
but if
the same.
you've then decided like to make a choice like, based on the fact that I've never been attracted to a black person in the past, I'm just deciding like I don't date black women or I don't date black men. Like that's a little bit different.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, for me, I think that I would still acknowledge that there's at least some level of prejudice in that happenstance. Because again, if with all that exposure, somehow coincidentally it only happened, like the moment race enters into a sentence that you say, I haven't found myself attracted to this particular race as of yet, it by default becomes a racial topic because you just introduced race into it. So there's still some, I think what would be healthy is we start taking out this idea that the mere existence of prejudice automatically makes the person evil. They're not evil. They're prejudiced. Are they open to change? And I think a lot of people steer from acknowledging the prejudice in their preferences because they feel like that demonizes them to a certain extent that they can't come back from. And it's like, I'm not going to demonize you, but like, can we acknowledge that preference does not grow in a vacuum? It is influenced by your experiences in society. And if your societal experiences are racially motivated, so will your preferences.
Yeah, well put. It's a really good point.
Yeah. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to change? Like,
because it is taught, like we said earlier. It's definitely taught. It's something that it's almost subconsciously conditioned us for years. When I was talking earlier about my commercials, like seeing all the commercials growing up, that is programming that they're putting on you, on that whole generation, on products, plastic, fucking high fructose corn syrup, garbage, fucking poisoning people, their minds, their bodies for years, and trying to control them. And that's the reality. If you look at it, it's kind of depressing. I know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to make the mood lighter, but in hindsight's 2020. But at least, fucking let's use hindsight and do better. We have to also acknowledge there's been progress. That's one thing also. I'm proud of seeing the generations in front of me educating themselves like this, and it's scary how smart young people are and fucking sarcastic little shits. You know what I mean? And you gotta love it. But that's the duality of humans. There's a dark side to us, and that evil. When you said evil earlier, that nuance is important to differentiate, right? Because there's degrees to things too. Like it's just like cancel culture sometimes does that, right? Like and it gets a bad name then because sometimes it might, you have your Louis C.K. who likes to, whack off right over a phone. Creepy, yes, but it's not the same as like. The other guy's name was, the Weinstein guy or whatever, the other creep who was like raping people, you know what I mean? So like that's a difference. I know. I don't mean
the chats.
Keep bringing it in. I don't mean to. Yeah. But anyway, there's a difference between Louis C.K. and say that guy. There's degrees to it, so that's like important. Like one thing is definitely evil there. The other one, I don't know if it's evil. He's a pervert. He's he's still using his power to a certain extent. That's the problem there. That was the whole Me Too thing, was around the power that's on the other side.
Speaking
Once
of
again,
power,
thank you, Billy, for pointing out the wordplay on programming in like the media and like actually programming someone's mind, because that's literally what it is.
Yup. Hard body. But your mention of power is actually a great segue to the question I have for both of you, because you are both very intelligent men. You guys know that as white guys, I'ma just say it. Y'all got privilege, okay?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about any incidents, any moments when you have been able to use that privilege to cover a person in need? Has that ever come up? Has it ever been a moment where something has happened and you be like, yo, if I was not a white guy, this would not have like gone down like this? Any moments where you realize like, I gotta use this allyship to cover somebody. I gotta be able to use this privilege to help somebody else.
Yeah. So I have been very sheltered my entire life. Arizona is not the most diverse place in the world. All right. It's a lot of old white people. So a situation physically or like in person has never come up for me outside of, someone saying something stupid and me coming back at them. Right. That happens all the fucking time. Whatever, it sucks. I hate, people, but it is what it is, and at least I'm not staying quiet. But no, I have not had a situation like that. Maybe on the internet, but again, it's just people talking, right? I haven't, stopped a cop from harassing anybody. I haven't, broken up something, a fight going down or whatever. Like, I have not been in a situation where I would have come across that. And it's because of where I was raised. It's because of just what I do with my life. I sit in my house all day and play video games. Like, I don't do anything. I don't go outside.
He sits in that bomb-ass recliner chair behind him that I'm jealous of.
Hell yeah. Oh, hang on. I got one more for you. Watch this chair.
Oh.
I don't like you propping. I'm over here forced to have proper posture and shit.
Yeah, I got two bumps behind me trying to hold me up. I have one on my lower back, one here, so they're propping me up. But yeah, I've been in those situations many times where, like I was in situations where I could have looked out, and I looked out for people of, color, from minorities. I've been around it my whole life, and I've kind of always, as a super's son, they called me the super boy. I always tried my best to help out. My building was mostly Section 8. It was a lot of older folk, very diverse, and we were very lucky to be supers there and have free cable. It's freaking awesome. And Playboy. So, but, as a young guy, like, we did our best to try and keep the place clean, secure, help out the seniors, even if it's a small thing like helping them out, like with changing a light, little things that you just do. It's just part of the culture. We all do it, and it's kind of normal here in New York and in Queens. It's more nuanced than, basically, the story I would share with you guys it involves the police, right? So those are the experiences you kind of see usually where you see your privilege. So there was a time when I was younger where I was trying to score certain things, right? Like, say, the devil's lettuce. From a friend who was driving by, and he wanted to give me some of the devil's lettuce. It's like 95% water, whatever. It's lettuce, right? Let's just, you get it. So, and we had basically 5-0, the cop literally looked into the driver's seat as I'm like holding the devil's lettuce and, cash for some reason in my other hand. And he just saw us, like, literally caught red-handed, and was like, get the hell out of here. And so, like, the driver, my friend, was also a lighter complexion, right? I think he was half Greek, half Puerto Rican, and myself, we were pretty white, right? White-looking guys. So we driving off, and all he kept saying as we're driving off, and he's, like, breathing heavy, is like, oh, thank God we're not black. Thank God we're not black. Oh, that's all he kept saying. And I've had that in my head for like 20 years, that situation that we were so lucky. Yeah, it wasn't lucky. it was obviously like privilege, obviously, right? But like him saying it there, even though it sounds horrible, right? Thank God I'm not black. But what a horrible thing to say. But it's like he's saying, I guess, something even worse, about systemic racism and that whole problem. And that was during the time when they were allowed to like stop and frisk, and all that stuff was enforced hardcore after 9/11, and they were like stopping people left and right, slightly a little melanin, Puerto Rican looking, little ghetto dressed. Oh, you're getting stopped, you're getting searched. Super unconstitutional, right? Super unconstitutional. And Bloomberg continued all that shit and made it even worse. Anyway, I digress. I'm not getting into politics again here in New York. But anyway, but again, that's been with me my whole life. Like that, I got out of that situation. Now, I've been arrested before for, smoking a cigarette, with the devil's lettuce inside, and, they held me for a few hours and I went into the system and then they, got rid of you. It's no big deal. These days, obviously, marijuana, not a huge deal. It's been legalized, decriminalized. And yeah, it's been 20 years. I've been waiting for this to happen. Now it happens. But anyway, again, just like something that now I realize in hindsight that is way more privileged than luck. Back then I thought I was like lucky. It didn't cross in my head. Yes, you know about it, but your perspective at that age when you're not educating, you're a dummy and you're more arrogant and selfish and more, you care about just like yourself more at that age when you're really young and vain and arrogant. Shame to say, but that's what it was. I was just I was a musician. I just wanted to party and hang out and girls and all that stuff. That's all I wanted, So you go through the system a little bit, you experience, you're like, okay, God, that must have been so much worse for another person that just happens to have a little more melanin than me, and that's like a normal part of life. And it's sad that that's how it was. That's just like normal and accepted. But I'm really glad. I mean, that's, now we're talking about it and we're able to, see how nuanced and how dark it can actually be, you have a whole system against you and what that would be like, because I can't imagine.
That's deep to like carry that. Thank God we're not black. 20 years. That's deep. I'm sorry that you had to like go through that experience. I'm glad you made it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be sorry about that. It's just I'm okay. I'm not the victim. There,
it's still a traumatizing.
Guy,
yeah, it's still a traumatizing experience. It's still a harrowing ordeal.
Yeah, and then I'm just remembering the guy that was saying it as well. The irony here, if I'm going to give you a little more detail. I don't want to get in trouble or get anybody else in trouble, but I'm not saying names. But anyway, the friend that was dropping off the devil's letters used to work for the 5-0 and for 5 years and hated it and absolutely was disgusted. But he like really didn't like it and he was disgusted by it. He told me he never went into detail why, but he was the guy saying that line to me. Suddenly being a merchant of devil's lettuce, but that's another story for another time. I don't want to go Breaking Bad and shit.
Wait, oh shit, Franco.
Franco is a real one.
I like shit talking about, man. Appreciate you, Franco. My type of
using the
Franco used his privilege to steal liquor from the store while the cashier was busy following his not so white friends. I'm with the shits. If I gotta be followed, it's gonna have making sure I'm sauced by the time I get out of there for free.
Oh.
I'm with the shits. I do have a question.
I can't.
If we could all go in a circle and identify for ourselves, what part of ourselves have we felt like we needed some allyship for? Like, what segments of society do we fit into that we've been like, hey, it would be nice to have an ally here? And I can go first. Mine is, as an African, as someone who identifies as being Ghanaian from West Africa, or like my sister likes to say, I can point to where I came from on the map of Africa. Oftentimes I feel like I would like to have more allyship from Black Americans in certain scenarios, because sometimes that Nubian queen, Afro, whatever, is coming the most from African Americans. And it's like, it's hard to navigate because on one hand, some of it is coming from this newly recognized and felt connection to the continent and wanting to embrace that for themselves. So anytime they see someone from the continent or who has a deep-rooted connection, they want to, embrace that. And some of it is just a kind of fetishizing that as a Black American, you yourself have felt that. So can you not do it to me? Can we not repeat the cycle towards me? So that's for me. And obviously as a woman, it would be nice to have allyship from sometimes the male population when it comes to not gaslighting me in certain scenarios or interrupting me when I'm saying a thing, when it is my turn to speak, and things like that. So if everyone could kind of go around, identify their segments, if they feel comfortable.
I'm all the things. So, I'm black. I'm queer. I'm disabled. You guys don't know I have cerebral palsy. I was born with it, and that on its own is like don't I don't know. It's weird because I feel like a lot of the discomfort comes in an effort of not being disrespectful. You know how you try really hard not to hurt someone's feelings and you end up hurting it? Like I feel like a lot of able-bodied people do that to me. Or they take I call it the deaf tone. Like when you tell somebody you have something wrong with you, it's like, oh my God, do you need help? Is it okay? That tone that comes, the condescension that comes with being, so sometimes I just wish I had, more awareness. But again, it's not, I don't really fault people too hard because again, it was something that I had to learn too. Like just because I was born with it, I didn't come out the cooch understanding it, so I have to educate myself in order to educate other people. And also like being black, like Jack just said the other day we were shopping for my niece for her birthday, and
we didn't get followed.
We didn't get followed, but there was darker people there, and the cashier left from behind the freaking register to follow them around the store.
Act like she was
act like she was just folding stuff up. I'm like, that is. Like we still here with this. There's no growth here. So it's just, sometimes I just wish the terms and conditions, so to speak, were updated on how to deal with people who are different, who don't necessarily share stories and paths and stuff. It's just, again, we're not born knowing how to do it, but some people make the effort to learn, and some people are just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be, and that's it. And I feel like I wish it was as important as, like, I don't know, telling women what to do with their bodies. Like, I wish people felt as strongly about being aware of things, policing them, So, but, yeah, you're not born
super right. Anybody else?
Some people make the effort, some people.
Go ahead, bro.
Sorry. I mean, I'm bisexual. So I personally, as a white man, a bisexual white man, it's not that I don't feel like accepted. It's, yeah, I don't know. Just the whole set of people that are like, oh, gay's gross. Why do you like men? Like, you're gross. And it just, like, it's shit like that. It's people like that make me afraid to tell, especially my family, because they're not just like, yeah, they're not great with race. They're also not great with anybody who is not straight. So I personally have not told my family, and that's fine. That will happen in time, I guess, if it needs to happen. But just, I don't know, there's, and I don't know, it's just, people don't, like, it's so weird too. Bisexuals are looked down upon, not just in like straight community, but also in like the LGBTQ community. Because it's like, well, you're either gay or you're not. It's like, no, that's not true. That's not the point of this. Like, I am attracted to anybody and everybody. Like, that is who I am and that is who I want to be. And like, I don't get the infighting. I don't get why people can't just support each other. Like, it doesn't make sense to me in the slightest. How does it affect you? Who I fuck? Who I end up marrying? What does that matter to you? It's my life. It's my choice. Get off your high horse.
I feel that. I feel that 1,000%. That's looking real.
I am attracted
You know?
That is quite
Giving Jax?
No.
I feel like I haven't heard her voice in hours.
That's why I called on Jax. Go Jax.
I wish I had an ally with. Cause Zay is like the
I'm super ally.
She is
a unicorn. I don't know how to explain it. She's like the ally for everything. So I don't know how to explain it. But no, but I was saying something as to what Rompy was saying about the gay community, because I'm like, we're all me and Rompy.
Bisexual,
are bisexual. So because the way that I appear, the way that I feel most comfortable dressing, everyone swears that I'm a lesbian, but I'm really not. But anyway, the point being, what Rompy was saying, I was like, in the gay community, like they can get behind people not obviously, but presenting as feminine or womanly or whatever, and then they identify as he, him, like their pronouns is he, him. So I don't understand what the problem is with bisexual people that are like, okay, I like both, men and women, or pansexual, like whoever. Like they can't get with the program, but they can wholeheartedly stand behind, not wholeheartedly, but they stand behind people that have different gender identities, or even people that are transsexuals, before they stand behind bisexual people. So
we were basically like saying like bisexuality is bottom tier. Like I don't. Because what's weird, I know, and that's not to take away from the trans community, because we literally owe them everything. We would not have any pride, anything, if they didn't stand for us. So that's not to take away from the trans community, but what I've noticed about why it's easier for the trans community to be accepted is because at the end of the day, they still can identify as heterosexual or gay, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, if we can put you in a box, it doesn't matter what you think your gender is. But for bisexuality, doesn't go in a box easily, so it's very bottom tier. And like she said, we're both bisexual, but again, she is more masculine presenting and I'm more feminine presenting, so it's always a thing. But yeah, I think that's what you meant, right?
Yeah. English.
Yeah, right. English, yeah.
Billy, Kochiki, either one of you want to go first?
I don't really, I'm not really sure. I don't know how to unpack that to really articulate a good answer for you. Because like I said, it sounds like you're asking a more personally, who would I would think I would want allyship from?
Well, so the question is really pertaining to what is your intersectional identity? Because we're not all just one thing. You're not just a Greek man born in Queens. I'm not just a Black woman with Ghanaian parents. So it's kind of asking you, what are the different elements of your identity, and are there any parts of your identity that you felt like you were either invisible or less likely to be heard because of that specific part of your identity? And then in that respect, what would allyship have looked like to you in that moment had you received it? Does that make more sense?
Oh, yeah. It's probably going to be something that might surprise you guys, but what I found odd... Yeah, what I found odd growing up was when my parents divorced, and we were like, we were very little. We didn't know what was going on. So this is like, you figure this out later on in life. But the Greek community, for some reason, kind of frowned upon the divorce and didn't kind of cast out my mother and my father in a lot of ways. Not my father as much, though. He was kind of taken in eventually. My mom, no. Everybody talked shit about her and tried to draw it out, called her, all these names, all these people from these communities that we thought were friends. These Greek communities, they're all married, they're all nuclear family, patriarchal type of, old school setups, right? And, they all kind of treated my mom like shit. And, the fact that she was divorced or something, it's kind of like the vibe that I got from it. That's what I felt when I was younger, and now I see it, now I understand it. I understand the judgment that those nuclear families were casting, on my mom, but it's something that I think a lot of those like ethnic countries. I'm joking, ethnic. A lot of those Eastern European countries and certain other countries like the Mediterranean, they do have these weird old school traditions, or arranged marriages still to this day. Some of them do, not as much anymore. And there are other countries and cultures that still do that. But my point being, it also creates a weird kind of looking down at divorced moms that are suddenly single. It was a weird seeing like how it kind of like we stopped being invited to all these things that we used to go to all the time. And as a kid, you're like, why can't I go see my friend in this wedding, or this thing's happening? Why aren't we invited? Eventually you start seeing things and poking at it. You're what is your mom gonna say? She's like been divorced and now they're talking shit about her. They're calling her a slut. They're, she's trying to be a super, and that job obviously was male dominated. So she was always frowned upon. She's a 5'0", Greek lady. And she's like repairing, doing plumbing, doing electrical work, fucking fixing locks. And she's raising 2 sons on her own, and 2 sons are helping her, lift the fridge, get the ovens out, replace stuff, do all this work, redoing apartments for people and stuff, and people moving out and whatnot. Seeing the new Starbucks come in, white people start moving in. Fucking 2006, 2007, Starbucks arrives, fucking white people start coming. They start showing. They look at you. You looking at me because I'm white too? Like, what, we're dogs? You're gonna sniff my butt? Like, what? Anyway, so, this is just going on in your mind, right? It's like suddenly it's being gentrified, right? The area. So rent's going up and all this stuff. So, but my mom survived and she worked her ass off, and she's like the most important person in my life. And I'm so lucky I have her because of her. Besides the privilege, I'm also really lucky I have her, And it's been, to me, that privilege, I don't know if we talked about it enough. You guys asked about it earlier. Like, I'm really happy I have that privilege, I'm fucking thankful. I'm grateful. I'm going to do my best to help out everybody as much as I can. At the same time, I'm still grateful I also have it. I don't think there's anything wrong with, I don't think anybody should be ashamed if they have a certain privilege either, because like that might help people also admit to it more. There shouldn't be shame if you have a privilege. It just needs to be acknowledged, so that you have a certain advantage in some ways in society. That's all. It's a start. And that goes a long way, in communication, dialogue, and like growing relationships and making things more common. As we become more diverse and becomes more common generation after generation, you see that progress. It's hopefully it will lead to a beautiful place,
Okay. Thank you, Billy.
I think it was really important to hear you say that it's okay to have privilege, because I feel like, and this is me as a Black woman, I'm saying, sometimes we say that word like it's a dirty word. Like we say that word like it's a bad word. And I catch myself doing it sometimes too, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's not his fault, he's white girl. You know what I mean? Like I gotta it back.
It's not, he ain't have to be the fastest swimmer,
Right. Oh, but you have to like take, it's right up there with like words like preference and prejudice and those sort of things. They're not necessarily bad words. They're just words that describe certain situational facts. Like that's just what you can't help that you're white. You can't help what you're attracted to. You can't help what you grew up around. So I feel like it's really important to take the stigma out of the word, take the the connotation of like negativity out of it, because technically we're all privileged in different ways. Like I also have to check my privilege being a fairer skinned Black person. I do know that I get treated differently than my beautiful it's different. It's not the same thing. It's just different. But me having that privilege, some people like fight against it because they see it like, oh well, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person, or I'm not racist, or I'm not colorist, or whatever. Nobody said you were. Just recognize that you, in one way, shape, or form, have a leg up, and you should use that leg up to educate and protect and help and be a better human being. So I think it's really important that you highlighted not to be ashamed of your privilege, because you shouldn't be, but you also shouldn't use it to like be a dickhead. You know what I mean? You also should use it to be actual human. So I think that's pretty good.
Yep, 100%.
Totally agree. Nope.
It will also make it easier for people to like acknowledge it as well, like to take the stigma away. And that's, I think there's also a fear from that of people like acknowledging certain privileges, you know, and I'm not going to say like say conservatives and throw a blanket statement on a lot of people. We highlighted that earlier, you know, but it may be some Republicans and all that do that. There's also Democrats that do it in their way as well. You know, it's just humanity. That's the thing about politics. A lot of people see politics, they get very emotional, but and it's because everything's been so politicized. Then it's like it comes up a lot, and you know, as we try and avoid it. Still, it's pretty important, and it's everything. It's you know, it is everywhere in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, it's power. It's power. That's all like about. A lot of people get too emotionally attached. I would remind you, those parties, it's their job to get power back. And they need to get it back ASAP. And there's a lot of money and interest behind it. So yeah, that freaking makes things a little more. People are scared to kind of talk about more, you know, important and nuanced issues that may be politicized in that spectrum. And they shouldn't be. They're social issues. Like you shouldn't politicize like social issues. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, like I don't know.
I think there's a difference between politicizing and radicalizing. I think a lot of times we radicalize under the guise of politicizing. I mean, our experiences are political. This country was built on a political framework, you know, as much as an economic one. Bringing the Africans over here and having the slavery. The United States came from no representation by the UK, so now we're going, you know, so we are a political country. I don't think that's necessarily bad, nor is it bad to politicize some of our experiences, because a lot of my experiences as a Black person is directly affected by the legislation, by the politics that were in place. The reason why I won't be arrested and hanged for marrying a white man is because of the Loving law that allowed interracial marriage that only happened, maybe 55 years ago?
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean? It became legal 55 years. I think that's fine, but the problem is when we radicalize it and make it into this movement of hate that gets out of control and really at some point stops being about the politics and becomes just a way to try and get people to believe what you believe or act according to your personal beliefs, even when it's a situation that has nothing to do with you.
Exactly. That's the part that I'm talking about. That then it gets exploited by either sides, but it's like, and then it's fueled by media because they literally profit off of dividing people. And you know, it's kind of like funny how everybody becomes a cheerleader on their side, regardless of what the policy may be or who's running, what the person who is like, what's that, you know. Anyway, but it's a good point.
Vision sells, yo. It definitely sells. It improves ratings when there's like divisive conversations happen. It's trending. Everything is trend. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because then the main message that we need to have gets lost.
Yeah, I was just telling Jax, trauma's on trend, which is why everything is BLM and all the commercials are centered around like Black people looking scared and shit. Like, there's trauma's on trend now. And also, right, and what you were saying about shit, I just forgot my thought. I think it was about politics and like people are talking about what matters and what doesn't matter. Also, like, if it doesn't pay them, it doesn't matter. Like, that's really, like, I feel like that's the bottom line at the end of the day. It's not necessarily about which side is right or wrong, which policy is lit or not. If it doesn't generate the most money, it's obsolete.
It's like Kaepernick in Nike. Like when Kaepernick got pretty much cast aside from the NFL. Not to say he was a great quarterback, but point being, he got cast aside. Like Nike picked them up as like their campaign because they know that literally the Black community, not to say that Nike doesn't make money off of everyone else, but literally their cash cow is selling sneakers to hype beasts, which are typically the minority community, because, you know, that is like a symbol of, you know, you get money or whatever if you have all the latest shoes. So they were like, oh, we're gonna pick up Kaepernick, show this and this, because like right after Kaepernick, they had finally made like a hijab thing for like Muslim sports players. And I'm like, there's been Muslim sports players all this time. Like, When did y'all just trying to make sure you pick up the next
So I have a question based off of that because yes, obviously like money is the bottom line, but when it comes to these bigger corporations, how do they go about showing allyship without it becoming a thing of like, well, what's in it for you? Especially now that you do have, you know, different people that aren't just like white men in these boardrooms making these decisions. How do they go about what's the best way for them to go about showing their allyship to all of the things that are happening? Because on the other hand, would we have been pissed if Nike had just done nothing? Like if they just didn't even acknowledge it and continue to, so like where do we draw the line in the sand for them? To anyone.
I think that's a case by case basis. I mean, if in fact, though, like let's say company A doesn't start doing like the example Ajax said, the hijab until a certain thing happens that's trending, then you have to look at you sideways because you had all this opportunity to put that out there. If you had put that out there before it became a trending thing because you recognized that there was a problem, then that's a different story. You've been doing this, so I'm not going to question you on it because you're not doing it for the clout. But it's these corporations and the very suspicious timing when they decide to do a thing, you know, and it would not be the first time that corporations have taken advantage of Black trauma to profit. You know, it would not be the first time. So a lot of times it sucks, but that's also kind of the anxiety we as Black people often feel is wondering, is this corporation doing this for our legitimate benefit? Or are they doing it because it's convenient for them to help us at this moment? And then we have to make it, well, do we want to feed into that? Do we want to set a precedent by buying this thing, saying, hey, this is important to us, so make more things of this? Because in doing that, we also give companies this go-ahead flag that's like, hey, if they time it right, we will buy into them. But it's like, what's their option? Not buy it, and now they realize it's not useful, and now no one is doing anything?
I feel like mostly it's like when they get caught, kind of. Like, I'm going to use the technique because that's like the easiest community to use. But like the Google, the Facebook, the Microsoft, like, and Amazon, because Amazon was like the king of whatever. But most of the, you know, the country claims that there aren't enough computer science, engineering, all that students that graduate with degrees, but they got caught because they're hiring people overseas because they can pay them cheaper. And technically, I'm not. Some of them are more skilled than college students, but like you can't get the skill unless you get hired. And then it's like the Google, the Facebook. It's like, oh, environment is mostly white males, and then it's like, okay, you need to have more diverse people. Like, for example, I don't know, no one buys it, but the Facebook portal, it was like the little TV thing, like the Amazon.
What the fuck is that? Okay.
I don't know.
It's it was an attempt competitor to like the Amazon TV thing, and so the camera tracking didn't work on female because while they were doing the testing and programming it, it was only white males. So it didn't like back out when another person came into the screen because they didn't have enough people there. So it's not until they get caught or something fails and they realize, oh, maybe we should added this person. So it's like Alba said, it really case by case basis. It really is.
Yep.
Oh, they'll hire like a publicist and they'll give somebody like 120,000 and shit to try and clean up the mess, and they'll put out the statements and all this shit. It's damage control. It was very obvious during BLM, like during right before the election, you know, right as the pandemic, like, you know, build things up and the anxiety and everybody, and then we exploded and went out, and you could tell there that those corporations started chasing clout like crazy during that time.
Yep.
It was super clear. Agent Franco asked us, is it ever okay to match a bigot's energy? Like if they say something that's crazy off the cuff, is it ever okay to... Jax didn't wait for me to finish the question. Jax is like, yup. Jax.
I tell you.
Why are you clapping? Why are you
Jax got the clap.
Because
into her toxic trait, y'all. Go see that.
Tapped into Jax's toxic trait right now. Who disappeared? Billy. Billy, come back.
I'm here. I'm here. Just the family's coming in. So.
Got you.
let somebody from the South, a real, racist, right? They come up here, go to the right neighborhood and talk that talk. I promise you, it's not going to be the arm of you. We're not recording. It's happening right here. Like, with the fair. And I'm telling you, let someone call me an N-word. Please, I dare you. Because...
Oh, no.
I'm ready. I need y'all to have bail money. All right. I need y'all to have bail money. Because I did it.
Part of me wants to be like, let's rise above and know and all this. I get caught out there. Might have to catch you outside because it's listen
unless there's children around.
I'll say like a time and a place. Obviously, I would never hurt anybody in front of their kid or like depending. But I will say this: when those Trump trucks were driving through the city, and one made their way through my side, I live in Brooklyn, and one made their way over here. It wasn't a good time for them. Like they should have went the other way. Like that's all I'm gonna say about that. It wasn't a fun time. They was honking them horns. It was a that was a mistake. Because it's Caribbean over here, okay, heavily. So it wasn't even a matter of whether to rise above or not. It's like you had the audacity to come here with your ignorance loaded on your back. You know what I mean? You sometimes, I'm not saying you should, put fire on fire. But if you're going to start let it burn. What's up? I mean,
sure.
I mean, honestly, it depends on how you coming at me. If it's just verbal, I'm gonna match your verbal energy, but I'm not gonna feel the need to get as racial as you are. I'm gonna keep it away from that. But the moment you start to get in my physical space where I have to wonder if my face might get damaged by one of your flyaway hands, I don't care about legal. I'm using teeth, I'm using nails, I'm using my foot up your ass. Everything, it's legit. And I know y'all were like not in front of the kids. In front of the kids, because you know what? Some people feel like because the kids are there, I can go as far as I want to because oh my God, I have a kid. Well, you better hope you drop your kid before I get to you. I'm just saying, if you threaten my life, you better hope you drop your kid on your walk over to me because you and your kid getting popped at the same time. I'm sorry. It's gonna be a flyaway hand.
She said, brought your kid. You and Junior. Fuck y'all both. That's what she said.
Right. That was you. That's child endangerment. That's your fault.
These people.
But that's only if it gets physical. Again, let me reiterate.
You guys have taken a very simple question and just taken it up to 11.
No, because he said, is it okay to match their energy? Whatever the energy is.
Right, but you went from...
Oh my God!
You guys went from nothing to way too high. And of course it's going to get physical at that point. Hey,
wait, no. But you see, that's the thing. It's not that we're getting it to too high because that literally happened during the pandemic. There were moments where people were minding their God-given business, especially service workers who typically tend to be people of color, where people felt so entitled to being serviced in a particular way, like you still need to service me even though I'm not wearing a mask, that they were literally ready to put hands on workers. You click into YouTube and you'll see dozens of experiences where someone of color or a Karen or whatever comes in and decides I can put my hands on you because you didn't service me in the way that I felt I should be serviced. You know what I mean? And so it sounds extreme, but for a lot of people, that is the reality because it could easily go from, Ahmad was that case. You know, you think it wouldn't get that far, and then it cost him his life.
Right.
So it flips like that. So that's why I made that distinction. If you stay verbal, I'll stay verbal, and I might not even go down to your level on the verbal because I'm quick with the sarcasm and I'm intelligent. So I'll call you stupid, and you will recognize I called you stupid. But the minute you are risking my life,
yeah,
the minute
it's a completely different story. Yeah, completely different story.
You can't.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, there were definitely moments, especially during the pandemic, where people were like coughing on people.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, fam, you're wildin'. You're weaponizing a cough now? What's wrong with you? Hi,
Right. Premeditated murder.
Really?
Like,
Exactly. Yeah, didn't she get charged with that?
People use COVID as an excuse to get extra specially spicy racist. Like, they really took it there with the level of like,
yeah,
it was like
coming
out light.
yeah, they really, it went crazy. So, you know, I understand. Granted, we shouldn't have gotten that passionate, but it's just the reason why the passion even exists is because people are like, they selling audacity on the corner for 50 cents a pop because they just picking it up and doing whatever they want to do. And
she said for 50 cents a pop.
It's clearly affordable because
racism is affordable. It's on sale. It's a twofer.
Something is going on because people are, you know, taking these like trying times and, you know, crazy situations and like, let me be the worst possible version of myself that I can be. And people are not going to stand for that for too long. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
This generation is not their parents. We're not here to be politically proper. And two, people of color, we are not our ancestors. You will get popped.
See, I don't like that line, but I understand it. For me personally,
yeah, I'm not my ancestors, because I tell you what, somebody turn a hose at me. That's after the protest. All right, I wish her the best. Like, they kept going, like, we can't use, you know, like, to be honest, like, let's really be honest, we are not our ancestors in a way where it's like they are much stronger and much capable, way more capable than we ever were.
They have some of them sat through it. They mental pain.
You got one time to unleash your dog at me. All right, good night. Y'all won. Y'all got it. I don't have
back
that.
her. I'm getting on
Right,
the
I don't have that strength. Right. We walking to work? Oh no. It's no. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have it. I am not.
They put up with a lot. That's why I'm like, when the kids these days, you gonna get these. Nah, you don't know what they went through for you to even sit at the front of the bus. Hush your mouth, child.
They are nothing. Could never. That's what I'm saying. I don't like that saying because it implies that.
And we survived slavery.
Right. That is right. That implies
almost going.
I'm not making it. I'm not making them sacrifice. I'm not cut out.
No, I feel like I would be drowned at the bottom of the sea. Y'all gonna throw me over.
I'm not making it. I've experienced racism in my adult life. I've been called the N-word to my face. Did I stoop down to that level? No, because I thought it was a far more insult for this N-word to dance circles around you as a human thesaurus, saying words that you cannot pronounce. Go ahead, call me that. Now go look up the words I use to insult you because you don't know what they mean.
That's the appropriate way to do
that for me was me exercising my version of power. Right. Because for one, you called me that on a public train. I'm not about to punch you in your face in front of all these witnesses. For two, I feel like my response has to reflect on the character I built for myself. And I'm not about to let you strip me of my power. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to let you determine how I'm going to act. I'm not doing that. You already tried to call me out my name. That's it. That's enough. You called me out my name, and that's all the power you get. I am going to control the rest of this narrative. Now I'm going to make you pick up a book and go figure out what the words I just used in this conversation mean.
That is lovely. That is amazing.
Perfect answer.
And that was the last time somebody called me N-word in public. But that's how I handled it. But I am very intentional about the person that I am, who I set out to be, and I wholeheartedly refuse to let anyone change that. Every action of mine is intentional. Any change I make to my personality has to be intentional, and I am not going to let someone's words, actions, none of that be affected by your perception of me or how you come at me. Nah. I'm in to defend myself. That person didn't swing. You're not about it. It's a 3 train in Harlem. Good luck to you. You tried it. You thought. But
what you're saying is you're better than us. Okay.
No, but that's
what I heard.
Right.
For me, I have worked very, very hard to be this person, and I'm not about to let some person that I felt in that moment wasn't their best take me out of being my best.
Mm-hmm. No, Anna, I'm 100% with you. And that's how I perceive
the situation.
Yeah, like that's what I was trying to say earlier. Is you guys took it up to 11 with someone getting physical with you?
Because he was saying
just a conversation like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
if that person would have raised their hand at me,
that's a different story, like of course. But there's like, 2 sides to this. There's the people just being asshole people that they are, and the people that are going above and beyond and like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you kind of way, right? Like very different sides of the same coin.
Yeah. I've had both experiences randomly walking down the street. I've had the one where it was just verbal and I verbally responded. Sometimes I'll even ignore them and keep walking, like, because that hurts them that I'm not even paying attention to what you said. I'm
right, they're not even worth your time.
I call them my ignorance blockers. I got my headphones. I heard you, but you're not going to I heard you.
Oh, yeah.
But then I've also had instances where I thought it was going to be a case where I could just walk by, and now they purposely make the point to get in my space to make sure I can't ignore you. At that point, I don't know if you're the type to just get in my face or if you're the type to swing randomly. So I gotta calculate for the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
it's a very dangerous game, especially being a woman, when your accoster is a guy, especially because you. I mean, when your accoster is a woman too, but even more so, we're extra on guard with men, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm 5 foot nothing. So everybody in my case looks like a towering Hulk to me. So I have to calculate for that because I'm tiny. You could literally just pick me up and run with me and I'm kidnapped. It's not fun. That idea is not
actually
fun.
Kidnapped.
Like
I can laugh about it now, but like legit, I will never forget that day. We had gone out and a man legitimately tried to forcibly take her home and was like, no, I know how I'm gonna take her. And I'm like, you know nothing. You not taking, like, and I had to be like, so you will put my sister down. You were not taking her anywhere. And he was literally trying to take her to another state. I'm like, nah, fam. We have to be careful. Everyone's a threat.
No, really though, because that brings us back to allyship. Because it's like, all right, are y'all men gonna tell y'all men that they be wilding or no? Like,
yes,
I'm trying to figure it out because just with the simple things like telling women to smile, like, do you tell your bro to smile when he's walking down the street? No.
I mean, yeah. But I tell everybody to smile, but
most of the men, you know what I mean? Most of the men that do that to women would not do that to another man.
Absolutely not.
So it's like,
no, that's gay. Like,
that's
okay. So gay.
Right. But it's just like stupid shit like that. A lot of like, it's sort of like everybody knows someone who's been sexually assaulted in some way, but nobody knows any assaulters. You know what I mean? Nobody knows anybody. Yeah, where they at though? Where's your man's at? What's going on? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I guess different levels of allyship call for different situations, but I feel like women are scared all the time. And if you just happen to be another thing, like queer or black or, you know, wherever you fit, that's just another thing to be afraid about. So I feel like, you know, allyship also comes in, you know, support of so people under checking their friends who do a little too much, or like even consent, and like, hey, if she's lit at this party, right, her clothes should probably stay on, bro. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Stuff like that is just don't violate another human being. Like,
right. It seems like common knowledge, right?
Yeah, it seems like it,
but people just don't understand that fact. Like,
I worry about it every day. Every day, my wife takes a train. Every day, I worry, like all the time. What'll happen? I'm just worried for her. I'm like, here, take this. Here, take this. Just like, she's like, no, no, be fine. Like, but I'm already the paranoid type too. But it's New York. It's New York, man. It's crazy here. So you're gonna worry. Because I've seen some shit, and I can't help but be worried, right? Because I care for her, obviously, and on that subject, I kind of have to go, guys. I have to go get some dinner, but I really want to thank Nirvana. Really, I appreciate you for having me on here, and especially with my lack of melanin, there's not much here. It's very pale, but I assure you, I get a really nice tan. I get dark. Okay, you wouldn't recognize me. Once I get my base going in the foundation. Anyway, I'm kidding it, but I really appreciate you. It's been really fun.
Thank you for having
you.
Thank you.
I learned a lot. I really appreciate you guys. You made some amazing points. And it means a lot that you guys you wanted to have me on here and share your time with your stream, Nirvana. Appreciate you. Love you. And have a great rest of the stream. Take care, guys. I appreciate you.
Actually, we're like over time right now.
Yeah, we are over time.
Like quite a bit.
Where does it usually end?
It's normally over by now, but we've been having some really good ass conversations, and now I can't move myself. Okay.
It's okay. Just block me. It's cool. I'll just come over here.
No, I moved me. Look, I got it. I moved me. We normally would be over by now, but we also were having a really spicy, picante conversation, and it would be really awkward to be like, really great combo, but like
2 questions done. We're good. See you later.
But yeah, Zay, that is an excellent point. Like, we do need to have allyship and conversation between men and women, between the sexes, and just in general, because it is really hard for women to feel like men are our allies. It is really hard for a girl to look at a guy and feel like you're not like a straight predator. Like that. It's hard. Like, I gotta look at markers to determine how much of you is safe. If you're a gay guy, automatically you're not a predator in my brain. Cause like, you want nothing from me. Right. Like, what I got that you want? Nothing. You're not checking for me in that way. So part of like, you are a safe guy in that regard. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just.
And that's not to say that women aren't predators too, and that women can assault men, because they can and they have, and that's totally valid.
Amber.
Also, not to say that gay men still won't assault women, because that also happens too.
No, they definitely do. But I'm saying like the predatory radar goes down.
I'm just saying, like, that's me to say that. Like, it's just it shifts. Because and like I said, and like Zay just said, like, it definitely happens in the reverse. Sometimes women use that victim role to be the culprit, and we all saw it when one of our beloved actors was accosted. And we all had to be like, not Johnny. Not Johnny. That's not true. Not Johnny. And then it came to light. Not Johnny. It was her. She was doing it. And sometimes that happens, and it's just who was calling her out.
That was one of the things I actually failed to be an ally earlier on, was recognizing when a woman has crossed a boundary. And protecting the man in that situation, because I think there's a way in which we see protecting a man in any situation as pick me, You know, like you're just trying to get on their good side. You're just trying to be the one that they, choose. And I'm like, no, that's not always the case. Sometimes she's dead wrong. Like, check your friend. Like the same way you want the male population to check their friends, you gotta check your friends. Some of the scheming, some of the let me put my hands on you because I dare you to put your hands on me. Hold on. Like, because if he puts his hands on you, he's gonna rock your stuff. So you might want to step down. You might want to calm the hell down.
My father told me growing up, don't put your hands on a man unless you want that man to put his hands back on you. Keep your hands to yourself. None of this, a man can't hit a woman.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
No one should hit anyone.
No, there is never a reason for violence. Ever.
Exactly. My father was like, don't put your hands on anyone unless you want them to put their hands on you. Keep your hands to yourself. Yeah, I was like, noted, good sir. That's it. That was the lesson lie. So I don't put my hands on. If you get me to the point where I feel like I want to hit you, I gotta go.
Yeah. Walk away.
I shouldn't want to hit you.
Take a deep breath. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. But
it's
all
not
this,
that hard.
People see that, if my man's not hitting me or if my woman don't swing at me once and she don't love me, what? Excuse me.
That's damage for real though.
They'll see it and they won't, or they be like, I gotta mind my business. What? You just watched your homie get his shit rocked by his girlfriend and you gotta mind your business? What? Whose friend are you?
There's like 100 TikTok videos where that's the hilarious scenario, and I'm like, that's not hilarious. Because if we had switched the roles, y'all to be up in anger and arms about this girl thinking it's normal for her man to slap her around. I don't know why y'all think it's hilarious for a man to be slapped around by buckets and phones by his girl. It's not funny.
Yeah, nope. I think the major message that we got, at least that I got from this episode, was that in order to be a solid ally for anybody, I have to know my role in the way that I have to, as Robbie pointed out, self-care. I can't put myself in a position that makes me feel uncomfortable. But I have to put in effort.
Right.
I think for me, that's what I took from this. That's what allyship means for me. Doing what I can for anyone. I don't care what group you're in. I don't care what walk of life what journey you're taking. But just doing what I can in a way that doesn't cause me undue stress, undue harm, but in a way that I am putting forth effort.
Right. Doing the best you can.
Yeah. And if in that moment you're asking for my silence, if that's what you need, as if that's what allyship looks like for you, I'll do that for you in that moment. Because it's not about me, using my voice for you is not about me, and I think sometimes that's hard for me because sometimes I just be wanting to help everybody, and I'm like, no, but you need me to do. No, I'm telling you, right. I need your silence. Shut up. I think that's my lesson that I got from this. What nuggets, kernels? Because we unpacked a lot this episode. What nuggets, kernels?
I'm so proud of us. We did so good. No, but I feel like my biggest takeaway from today's episode is it's okay to recognize where you have a leg up at. And it's okay to take that and use that to learn and be a better human being. It's not a dirty word. It's not a bad thing if you have some privilege tucked away somewhere. You can use it and make yourself and the world you live in a better thing. So.
Yep. Even if it's one person at a time, you don't need to go and do the big thing. You don't need to go, to the marches or to the any protests or anything. But if you're trying to use your privilege to help people, whether it be, starting with friends, then maybe some strangers, maybe someone you just met, just using your power that you have to help people around you, you're already making the world a better place.
I think to add on to that, this. I think this statement applies to so many different things, but definitely for allyship, it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. The goal is to continue to keep trying. Like, you're not always gonna get it right. You're sometimes gonna think that you're being an ally when you're not. That doesn't mean that you just stop and you cop out. Like, you shut up, you learn from the person, and then you try to learn from the person, and then you take the next steps. Yeah.
My kernel would be two things. There's a movie called The Color of Fear, 1994 film, where similar to this, you got a bunch of mostly men or all men sitting around from different races talking about some of the topics we touched on, mostly about race. And so if you want to hear more about how that conversation plays between whites, Latinos, blacks, or different classes, you can watch that. There was a saying in that one that I really liked where it said, there's a way in which American and white have become synonymous in America. So if anyone wanted to watch that, there's also this article on intersectional feminism by Kimberly Crenshaw Williams or something like that, where it talks about, she's talking specifically about intersectionality between being black and a woman. But if you take out that specific context and read the article as a structure, it kind of helps you put some structure on how to approach trying to be an ally to someone who has a very nuanced identity. Because like I said, not everyone isn't just one thing. We all fit into our different boxes. And it kind of helps, one, if you're someone who fits into different boxes, identify what your struggles might be that are special and unique to you. But if you're trying to be an ally to someone who fits that kind of intersectional identity, it helps you, I guess, understand more about what they go through. So those are the two things I dropped here.
Honestly, just effort. Like, you need to put in what you can. You need to give people what you can. And like, there are so many different levels of so many different things and so many just nuanced situations that can happen, that like, it's knowing when you're coming across something where you can use your power to help. You can use your situation, whatever it is, to be a good person, to spread the love into the world, because there's enough bullshit and we don't need more of that. All right.
That's right.
Jax?
That being an ally doesn't necessarily mean that you got to be front and center all the time, and you're there for support in different ways. Something that
Dope. Well, all right, chat. Appreciate y'all for kicking it with us. Stay tuned for next week's episode when we talk about the wonderful world of dating. Okay. We would give y'all a taste, but we've been here long enough. We're gonna hit somebody with a read. You know what? Ricky showed us some love. Let's go love on Ricky.
I'm hungry. I'm gonna get those wings.
Thank you so much.
Not the wings. Not the wings.
Whoever said Wingstop, thank you.
I hate you all. Why are y'all like this? Why are y'all
When did that
like
happen?
It was
Why
a good idea. Thank you.
We're gonna go raid weekend. We're gonna show him some thick ass love, and then we're gonna come back next Friday, and we're gonna talk about dating with another guest speaker. Or
promise we won't go as long, or maybe we will.
Promises.
I can't.
Maybe we will.
It's dating, y'all. There's trauma.
And for those of your friends who do not have Discord but rather have YouTube, our episode will be uploaded tomorrow, same time.
Discord, what? All right, y'all. Peace. Bye.
Hey.
All right. I'm gonna stop streaming.